creativity. Galatians 6:5 in the Message says that each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life. I don't know whether you feel creative or not, but God created you in his image, and he's the ultimate creator. So creativity is defined, next slide, as ingenuity, if I can talk. It's defined as inventiveness. It is defined as everything that we do. Originality. If you've ever been to Pisa, everybody's doing this number with it, and it's the creative thing to do there. You almost have to, like all these people, you have to wait to get somebody out of the way so you can do your thing. Next one. So what kills creativity? Any idea? You're going to love this. Parents. Don't do this. Don't do that. Watch this. Watch that. You can't go there. You can't go here. I can't remember. I think my parents finally realized that I was creative. My mother was going to beat me for something. The one house we owned, we lost it pretty early on. My mother was going to beat me. We had a second story, and she was going to beat me, and I ran out the second story window out on the edge of the overhang, and I threatened to jump if she beat me. And she left me out there all afternoon. I was afraid to come back in the house because I knew if I went in, she would have just beat me to an inch of my life. But I don't remember what I did. But yes, parents kill creativity. Next one, public schools. Now, I was great at high school because they let me go. My classes were fun and loud and noisy, and the coaches all had either worksheets or videos. But my students got to do creative stuff. We had the sponge wars. I filled buckets of water and sponges and split the students up for Civil War. And I let them choose sides, north or south. And so they're sitting there with wet sponges on the desk, and we went through all the battles. And if the South won, this side got to throw sponges at the other side. If the North won, this side got to throw sponges at that side. And what they realized was that pretty soon South ran out of ammo, and the North just kept throwing them. And it was fun. It was creative. And then at the very end, it was a free-for-all. I got hit with most of them at the free-for-all. I mean, it was their chance to just plummet me. But it was a creative thing. And then at the end, in world history, we did trebuchets, slingshots. We went outside, and their grade was to get an egg across the pond, the school pond. And they come up with some pretty creative stuff. But the school pond had 90 feet. And all they had to do is get the egg across the pond. And we laughed so hard we couldn't stand ourselves. Again, it was creative stuff. But most of them didn't do that. It was just not in their DNA. Next, church nominating committees. Sorry, guys. What happens in nominating committees? They have a role to fill, and they just tap people. We need a teacher in this classroom. That's yours. And they'll coerce people to do it rather than go out and find what the gifts are. Is your gift in teaching? Is your gift in serving? Is your gift in administration? What is it? And then plug people in those roles. Is your gift in missions? But no, we have this role to play, and we need somebody to fill it. Next, churches. Again, that's why we're here. Because most pastors, not John, I found, all they want you to do is come in, fill the pews, listen to them obloviate, and then go home. And fill the Sunday school slots or whatever that they need, but never want to talk to you about what your role is, what your responsibilities are, and what your ministry is all about. And it doesn't have to be a big ministry. It could just be coffee with a couple of guys during the week. It could be a Bible study, or it could be a care group. Get a bunch of young people together, old people together, couples together, once a week, once a month, and just talk about Scripture. Well, let's cover the book. That's all. And maybe have a project of some sort. It's part of that creativity thing. But that's all. And most churches don't want that to happen or don't do it. 5 areas to develop creativity. All right. First one is at home. At my house, when my kids were growing up, we played hide and seek. I got caught so many times, it's ridiculous. And I tried to find every place I could find. When I became a youth minister, we played hide and seek in the dark in the fellowship hall. And the deacons called me aside and said, "You can't do that." I said, "Okay." And we continued to play hide and seek in the dark because the kids loved it. But what happened was we were getting more kids involved. We started with a small group. We got larger and larger and larger. When we ended up going to the nursing home, that was our biggest night. We almost doubled our size. Why? Because other kids were hearing about the nursing home ministry and showed up because they wanted to be a part of it, because it was something different. Other churches weren't doing it. And in my family, when we were at the church with the group, we had a pool. And I was telling John, my daughter, I had to stay after a visit with people. So my daughter would absolutely pick my pocket. I didn't teach her that, but she would pick my pocket, get my money or my credit card. By the time she got home, before they all could drive, somebody would drive them home. They would call and order pizza and Coke. I would pull in, and I would either have to wait for the pizza guy to get through, or he would come in right after me. Everybody would be half of them would be in the pool, half of them would be in the house. And some of them I didn't even know because, I knew them from school, but I knew they weren't our youth group. They'd call friends, but it was a creative group, and we had fun and we had a ministry in that respect. And with the school, my students liked to roll my house. It was the house to roll. But what I told them was, look, you hit my house, show up the next morning, help me clean up, and I'll take you to breakfast. And I didn't care how many there were at the house. In 16 years, my house was ducked. My pool was ducked with mallard, with decoys. And then I had a family of ducks see that and land in the pool. My house was tented. They had found like 20 tents somewhere and put them all up overnight. Then another time, my house was toileted. They found old toilets and put them out in the yard. Now, they came and got them for the next day. But my neighbors just roared, said, "How do you put up with this?" I said, "Put up what? It's fun. I'm loved." I got forked, and it just, and other teachers were just screaming how students hate me. Well, they probably do for you, but they love me. Home. How has your home been? Has it been fun? Has it been, the creative place to be? Next one. Bible study. I'm not sure about you. I don't particularly care I have nothing against videos from pastors, from, Tony Evans, that kind of thing. But when I do Bible studies, I want to study the Bible. I want to go through line to line from beginning to end of every book. And I don't want to know what somebody else's opinion of the book is. I want to know what the book says and the study says. And so when I'm in a Bible study, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go from line to line, and we're going to compare all the versions. Everybody's free to bring their own version of Scripture, and I've got the Greek and the Hebrew, and we go through it and we compare it. Say, okay, what does this one say? What does that one say? And so we're creative in the sense that we look at the full spectrum. Next one, communication. How do you communicate with people? How do you talk? Do you use words that are creative? Or are you just bland? The next one is writing. How often do you write? I love it that y'all are actually taking notes, but do you sit down and take notes? Do you take John's notes on John's word? That's good. Do you have a journal? Do you have your own quiet time and you journal it? I have a whole shelf of journals my wife has prayers going back almost to college that she's kept. I asked her one day, I said, am I in there? She says, oh, honey, you've been in there a long time. I said, have some of them been answered? She goes, well, a few. But she has them on the family, the kids, her parents when they were alive, my parents when they were alive. She keeps up with them. I'm not that detailed. But journaling is one way to write and to be creative. And in discipleship training, have you truly been disciples? You've heard me. I had men come along and disciple me. They've given me scripture memory. They have given me instructions. They have given me napkin evangelism. They have come along and just said, hey, this is what you're doing. This is what the scripture says. What do you think you ought to do? That's discipleship training. It's not evangelism explosion. It's not continued witness training. It's coming alongside for life. I've got one man who contacted me this morning because we're on a executive team together on this international teaching stuff. His name is Jerry White. He is the former president and executive chair of the Navigators International Discipleship Group. Well, Jerry and I met over 50 years ago when he was just leaving the Air Force Academy. The man is a brainiac. He has got a PhD in astrophysics. And he has mentored me for a long time. And we still have a friendship and we still work together. That's discipleship. That's the kind of creative area that I'm talking about. And so how do you develop creativity? Well, you view life differently. Don't look at life humdrum. Do something artistic. Write a book, draw a painting, do a sketch, paint a room. Don't paint it bland. Just kind of do it differently. Be creative. Do woodworking, whittle, whatever. Something creative. Read. Reading's almost gone out of style nowadays. My wife has these books on her iPad, and she gets them from the library there in Tyler. And she's reading them all the time. And she's got a book club, and she gets them from Amazon almost every week, and she goes through them. I'm writing all the time, or I'm putting together conferences. So, reading is just not on my genre right now. But, if that's one of the things you do, reading and writing, ask questions. My teachers hated me because I asked questions. I said, why? Why do I have to know this? They would say something that I know was wrong, and I would nail their feet to the floor, and they weren't too happy with me. Do you want to pass this class? Biology. I was not a Christian at the time, and the professor and I tolerated each other. I guess that's a term. He once told me, he said, "You'd be an A student if you weren't married." I said, I wouldn't be a student if I wasn't married. I said, I'm doing very well right now because I am a student. And he went into evolution. And, I said a few things that I can't repeat in church, but, I basically told him what I believed, and that wasn't it. And so he looked at me and he says, well, when you see the question on the final, you will give my answer. I said, oh, that's how it is, huh? So on the final, there was the question. And I said, I don't believe this stuff, but you want me to regurgitate your answer. So here it goes. And so I gave him his answer. It was an essay. And I hope he had a good time with it. I passed the course, but yeah, it doesn't bother me to ask questions. And I would tell my students, if the only dumb question is the one that should have been asked that wasn't. That's why I don't mind people asking questions. Be a fan of creative ideas. No matter what it is, try it. If it doesn't work out, well, that's not your thing then. Travel. My wife was from Childress, Texas, a small town in the Panhandle. She was in a government class and she was reading stuff. She goes, oh, I'm never going to marry a city manager. Well, how'd that work out for you? She hated it. The lifespan of a city manager is 3 to 5 years. And man, I was killing that 3-year deal. I'd get in there and fix those issues and, election go bad and the mayor would come in and say, son, you might as well pack your bags. And I go, well, I did all I could. And so I watched Trump what he's doing, and I'm going, yes, that's what you got to do. He's not running for election again, so he's got nothing to lose. He knows he's going to be gone in 4 years. But now we travel a lot. She doesn't go with me everywhere. She's not going to go with Africa. Originally, we set up, I was going to be in Africa for 1 week, and then I was going to be in Sri Lanka the next week. I was coming home for a week, and then I was going to be over at Wheaton College in Illinois. And that was the month of October. Sri Lanka fell through because we had a whole group coming in from a country that wouldn't let them out because apparently they all went to that country to escape their mother country. And so they were half of our attendees. So we put that off until next year so that we can find another venue that will allow them to come. And after we get through here, I can tell you what the country and all that about it. But we travel a lot, and sometimes she comes with me. So travel. Do something artistic. I already have that. All right. What does creativity do for the workplace? Well, it's an enthusiastic outlook. It's a positive direction. It solves problems. It has an attitude of confidence, and it meets your employer's needs. And most employers are surprised by it. If you're looking to improve your position, if you're looking to move up in a company, be creative. When I worked for the post office, I didn't think about it, but we would bring all the mail in and dump it in this one big bin. And then we would have to sort it. and I'm looking around. I'm in college, and I'm looking around where I got to pick this up. It can't be in keep going, so I have to pick it up, walk halfway across the room to put it somewhere. So what I did, I moved the bins. The big, you've seen these post office bins about that tall. I moved about 2 or 3 close, and so I started sorting this thing by where it goes. And my supervisor came to me and he said, "That's very creative." I said, "No, it's lazy. I don't want to walk all the way over there." And he said, "No, it is creative." He said, "What I want you to do, hand me a form." He said, "Fill this out during your break and turn it in." Okay. So I did. And I got rewarded for it, extra money. But they reward creativity in most workplaces. Therefore, be creative. And one last creative idea. There's only one original creative being, and that's God. We are formed in his image, and he established the pattern. And so the idea that you are not creative is a false idea. And if you think about it a while, you can come up with some creative things. Creative things in your home to make your home happier and likable and livable. Creative things in the church to draw people in, and creative things at work to make people notice, not only to be rewarded, but also to get people to notice you, give opportunity to give glory and honor to God.